Welcome to Bowling Green. Thank you for coming on this important occasion. Almost 250 years ago, right here at Bowling Green, New Yorkers and all Americans refused to surrender to oppression, even in the darkest days of America's fight for independence and freedom. The result was the invaders were defeated and their last troops, still on American soil, left our shores right from here, and the American flag was raised high in the presence of George Washington right here. Today we meet to raise Ukraine's flag for the very first time here at Bowling Green, to fly beside the same original 13-star American flag, which we still fly here. And both will still be flying here on the equally glorious day, not too far in the future, when the last invaders leave Ukraine and the Ukrainian people are victorious for themselves and for all of us. And we will gather here when victory is achieved in Ukraine for a great celebration here with the Ukraine community, and in doing so, to also honor all those who gave their lives in this war and all those who sacrificed so much in Ukraine to defeat the madman who wanted to enslave not only Ukraine, but our entire world with his evil delusions. Now, it is my great pleasure, once again, to introduce the 110th Mayor of the City of New York, Mayor Eric Adams.
All right. Thank you so much, and I'm joined here with my colleagues and so many that have come together as one to represent the spirit and energy of not only New York, but America, on how we stand with the Ukrainian people. And I'm so happy to be here with the Council General of Ukraine, who is really representing the energy and spirit of Ukrainian people. New York has the largest Ukrainian population outside of Ukraine right here in New York City, and we're proud of having that energy and spirit. And any conflict that plays out on the global scale plays out on the streets of New York City. The bombs that are bursting in Kyiv are breaking our hearts here in New York and throughout our entire country. And today, the raising of the flag is also to raise the energy and the spirit of the Ukrainian people, to know that we are united together. And I'm so proud of seeing the resiliency and the clear spirit of the Ukrainian people, that they won't surrender to terrorist acts, they won't surrender to the violence, and they won't surrender to protecting their homeland. That is the spirit of who we are as Americans. We know what it is to fight on behalf of our homeland, and you are showing that same energy and spirit. So today, we are united, we stand with you, we are part of the Ukrainian people today, and saying that we will never surrender, never give in, and always stand united together. Thank you for allowing me to be here and participate in raising the flag and the spirit of the Ukrainian people. Thank you.
Council General, on July 9, 1776, New Yorkers marched down Lower Broadway when word of independence reached our city from Philadelphia. That day, they broke through the large gate, the same fence still surrounding Bowling Green today, and destroyed the statue of the King of England in the center of Bowling Green in declaring their freedom and independence. 7 years later, General Washington returned to Bowling Green to raise the new American flag to fly high over New York City. Today is the most important flag raising in New York City since 1783, 239 years later, right here where George Washington stood. Now Ukraine has its own George Washington, and your President Zelensky, please tell him the story of Bowling Green and ask him to join us here in the not-too-distant future, when Ukraine is victorious and the invaders have been expelled, to come here with Mayor Adams, raise the Ukrainian flag at Bowling Green in celebration. Now, right now, it is my great pleasure to introduce Ukraine's Council General in New York. Council General.
Thank you, Mr. Piccolo. Thank you, Bowling Green Association. Thank you, the New York City. Mayor Adams, Excellencies, dear colleagues and friends, ladies and gentlemen, дорога українська громада. Thank you all for having me today on this wonderful occasion, raising first time ever of the Ukrainian and American flags over the New York City, together in solidarity with my country, solidarity that Ukraine needs now vitally, suffering for already 1 month from unprovoked full-scale war waged against my country by Putin's Russia. Having failed to make Ukraine surrender after a blitzkrieg due to unbreakable spirit, braveness and patriotism of Ukrainian defenders, we thank all of you, but today we need more help. Obviously, to help us, countries can do 2 things: leaving us fighting ourselves, our territory. First, send us necessary weapons. And second, impose strengthened sanctions on Russia. New packages of sanctions, systemic and consolidated, until the Russian military machine stops, are vitally needed. And with regard to the weaponry, let us be frank. There is no division on the kind of weaponry to be provided to Ukraine. Each unit, each machinery, when it's used to defend Ukrainian territory, purely relates to defensive weapon. We are convinced we will win this defensive war against Russia. And immediately after, we, with our friends, will start rebuilding my beautiful, peaceful country. And please, stay assured, Ukraine will never forget your helping hand. To conclude, ladies and gentlemen, let me quote my President Zelensky, who said in his address to the US Congress recently, "Today the Ukrainian people are defending not only Ukraine. We are fighting for the values of Europe and the world, sacrificing our lives in the name of the future. That is why today the American people are helping not just Ukraine, but Europe and the world to keep the planet alive, to keep justice and history." And let me express my personal feeling that those 2 beautiful flags being raised today over the New York City symbolize further strengthened international solidarity and further help, which would support us on our way to combating the evil of a planetary scale, the Putin's aggressive Russia. Thank you very much for this event. Thank you very much for your strong stance with Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you, Council General. We will now be raising the flags. We have 2 wonderful Ukrainian singers. First, we'll raise the American flag, then the Ukrainian flag. With the permission of Mayor Adams, we are going to continue to keep flying the Ukrainian flag every day and night beside the American flag until victory is achieved. I don't think that's being done anywhere else, but with the mayor's permission, we will do that. Thank you. Okay, go.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh. Ще не вмерла України ні слава, ні воля. Ще нам, браття українці, усміхнеться доля. Згинуть наші вороженьки, як роса на сонці. запануєм і ми, браття, у своїй сторонці. Душу й тіло ми положим за нашу свободу і покажем, що ми браття козацького роду.